Welcome back, guys, to another episode of the Suffer Up podcast with Nate and Ryan and our good friend Red with Red Flamingo. We're going to hear about his story in just a minute. If this is the first time you've listened to Suffer Up, we are Suffer Up, where our mission is to encourage and lead others to suffer with a purpose. We strive to help others level up in life with an emphasis on spiritual, mental, and physical well being. Thank you guys for tuning in today on this episode. We're very excited to have our guest here, and we will introduce him here shortly. Before we begin, we just want to give a very special thank you to those who have supported the channel and supported us through this journey. If you guys go back and look, we have just successfully hit 1 year of podcasting and hosting events, and we're super thankful for this past year and excited for the next year. The main supporter and first supporter of this channel is Soft Socks. For those of you who don't know, Soft Socks is a veteran-owned and American-owned company that makes a compression fitting sock for your feet. They are a toe sock. We love them and wear them on all of our long runs to protect us from blisters, the heat, and any sort of wear and tear that happens to our feet. If you would like to try a pair, you can go over to our link tree in the description of this podcast and click on www.softsocks.com and use discount code SUFFER10 to receive 10% off of your pair of soft socks. We also are excited to announce that we have now partnered with Muckender Towels. Muckender Towels makes a plant-based towel to use on the trail as well as in the shop, working on your car to keep your hands clean and free with no harsh chemicals. You can also go to the link tree and click on the Muckender's link there and use that affiliate code, or you can use Suffer Up at checkout to receive 10% off. And last and finally, we want to give a very special thank you to a very proud sponsor of this channel, and that is Pam Heinold Realtor at ERA All American Real Estate. You can call or text her at 850-232-2332. If you're thinking about buying or selling a home or other type of property in the Florida Panhandle area, call a nationally award-winning realtor and local expert. Pam Heinold is here and ready to help you in whatever ways you may need. Call or text her today to chat about your real estate needs at 850-232-2332. Thanks so much for listening, guys, and we hope that you enjoy this episode with our good friend, Nick Red. All right, so this week we are joined by our special guest, Mr. Nick Redhead of the Red Flamingo Foundation. Nick, how you doing?
Doing great. How are you?
Good. We're happy to have you in here, man.
Great to be here.
Can you tell us about your foundation, this Red Flamingo Foundation, and what it is?
Yeah. Where do I get started? Jeez. So Red Flamingo Foundation is it is all about optimization. Um, and to elaborate on that, so we are focused on stopping suicide and through that a strong focus with mental health optimization. So yeah, man. So it's been a long time coming. Through the loss of my brother was where it started. My brother died by suicide 10 years ago, and yeah, man. So that kind of started a journey. Started a journey of something that I about 7 8 years ago had come up with an idea to where I wanted to make a difference. And sitting at my house one day, I was wallowing in my sorrows. I was I was not in a good space at the time. I was drinking like a fish, and was sitting at the house by myself, and started the mental juices started flowing, and creative juices started flowing. So I looked up at my wall, and above my mantle on above my fireplace, I had this R that was on my wall, and then I had this newfound love for flamingos, which is odd. Because I'm this roughneck from from New York, like the other side of the tracks kind of guy, and I have this newfound love for flamingos for some strange reason.
All right.
And so I had this flamingo, piece of art that was on my mantle as well, and so I just started kind of like my mind started wandering, and I was like,
Yeah.
well, what if I kind of created a logo, or if I did, something that I could sell, put on a hat, and sell some hats, and, kind of bring some awareness to the cause. And so then I just started thinking about some things, man, and like, uh, I was going back and forth with, well, I don't really want to create a logo, and I've no interest in selling a bunch of product and making a fortune off of somebody's misfortune type mentality. And so I was sitting there and kind of going back and forth and thinking, well, do I do something that's for profit, not for profit? And really struggled with it. And so I'm looking at this R on the wall again, and I'm looking at the flamingo. And so there were some things that kind of spoke to me, and what ended up resulting was, obviously my last name is Redhead. My brother's first name was Rodney. Um, and then I started looking at this flamingo, and I started thinking, well, what color do we know flamingos to be?
Red.
Pink.
Oh, they're red.
We know them to be
I
pink.
said
Yeah,
red like 10 times.
that's right. That's right.
Flamingos are red.
Yeah, they're always red now,
Yeah.
from here on out, right?
Yeah.
So,
But the dye's red, right?
the what?
Like the dye that they secrete in their feathers is actually red, but when it's mixed.
Right. Well, what ends up coming from it, so, like, I'm thinking, I'm like, okay, so I'm like, well, I started thinking, I'm like, okay, well, redhead's in our last name. Again, I got the R for my brother, and obviously the R would be symbolic too of, like, of red from it. So I'm gonna start thinking of a flamingo, right? And then I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that's big.
Flamingos are big.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, wait a minute, let me go look it up. And so I go look and start doing some research, and come to find out, the healthier a flamingo is, and based on their diet, the deeper hues of red they are. So I was like, had this boom. I'm like, that's it. I'm like, it's a light bulb moment of, health and mental health and diet, and like all the
Yeah.
these different variables that play into it. And honestly, on that day, that's where it was born. Um, this whole concept of Red Flamingo. And so that was, like I said, 7, 8 years ago. I created it. I started working with a graphic designer and created the logo, and then boom, I sat on it for like years.
Wow.
So yeah, but that's where it started, and then had some really profound events that within the suicidal space that continued to kind of evolve over the last couple of years, which was incredibly, again, it was weird. Like, I think it was a God thing, quite frankly, because it was just in my face. And there were several instances of from suicide to mental wellness type things that happened very close to home to me. And yeah, I mean, it just a couple of instances where some close friends had passed. My brother's best friend had passed by suicide, and some other stuff had happened, and I just had enough.
Yeah.
So yeah, so about 70% of the story really alludes to, the loss of my brother was so significant and impactful that that started the process, and definitely had a deep impact on me. And then the other 30% of where the whole foundation and everything has evolved from was my own personal battles and struggles. So a lot of times, I mean, I hadn't talked about it over the years, but it's something that, quite frankly, it needs to be talked about.
Mhm.
And so, me being vulnerable to open up about it is I'm recognizing more and more that that's what it takes. So, I was on an 11-year health journey, uh, starting from when my first daughter was born, and so she's 16 years old now. So I went on an 11-year health journey and had some major, uh, what ended up being major complications for things that what it wasn't like I had cancer and was dealing with something like that. This was different. This was hormone based. This was trying to navigate it through a system, through the normal medical system, where I was being treated for symptoms, and not really the root cause of the problem.
Right.
And so it led me down this path of um, all kinds of challenges that in as life happens, everything from deaths, divorce, stressful situations, the economy type challenges, like normal things that would happen in someone's life, you know, where all of that was amplified because of I felt like looking back on it now, like my medical um condition, if you will. I mean, and so when I look back at that, that played an impact. It had such an impact on me having an ability to be able to navigate some of these things.
Sure.
I talk about this a lot where, you know, I say this where like, if you walk by, if you walk by someone, and then they're smiling at you, you know, are they dying on the inside?
Mm,
And for many years, that was for sure that was me.
mhm.
So and I'm an athlete. I'd like to consider myself an athlete and healthy and but what you would see or perceive on the outside was not even
Right.
remotely close to what was going on the inside. So all this stuff kind of comes full circle. So you ask about the foundation, and it is an incredibly deep
Yeah.
mission and passion and resembles a significant amount of faith,
Mhm.
because I mean, it just does. I mean, you know, prayed for direction and clarity on what I should be doing. And it's just, I mean, it's just opened up this significant amount of momentum and support and,
That's awesome.
guys like you guys even coming into my life. I mean, like, it's taking on this and what I love to say, it's taking on a life.
Yeah.
It's taking on a life and a
Mhm.
purpose, of its own. And it seems to be helping a lot of people along the way so far. So
That's great. So on your website, when you navigate it, you have different kind of resources that are there. So walk us through some of those resources that are available for people who reach out to Red Flamingo for help.
yeah, so first and foremost, you've got national crisis lines.
Hmm.
You've got the ability to be able to connect with these resources that these are folks. I mean, when you're in dire straits and you need an outreach, it's not that people shouldn't look at that as like, oh well, it's it's there's this like stigma behind making that call,
Hmm.
right? Like that the number 988. I mean, if you're there, if you're like make the call,
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
we've got several national crisis lines that are referenced online for sure. We've got reference to an organization called BetterHelp.
Okay.
BetterHelp is a national or world renowned. Um, they've got all different kinds of doctors and therapists, and so like with where we are in our society and country and access, it's like having through your insurance company at work, having an online medical doc or you can call in and,
Mhm.
and connect to somebody like that's what that type of stuff is there for.
Sure.
And although what people could be dealing with or what people are dealing with could be very personal, and it is personal,
Hmm.
the ability to redirect the here and now and the problem that someone may have that they're challenging with right now.
Yeah.
That's why we want resources like that readily available and disposable at,
Hmm.
at their fingertips. So
Right.
yes, it's more of a global initial outreach, and then what we're continuing to work on and build from a local standpoint here is community.
Right.
Is community resources. It's being able to direct people locally. It's saying, hey, here's a company that handles, hormone therapy. Here's a company that handles ketamine treatments.
Right.
So we're continuing to evolve and build that out. Obviously, it's never going to be fast enough,
Right.
but because the credibility on that stuff matters, right? I mean,
Right.
so we want to be able to help people connect those dots, and then more importantly is and not more importantly, but as important, we want folks to be able to understand the different, you'll see on the website we have something that we refer to called a wellness wheel. And we want folks to be able to understand every pillar within that wellness wheel and how it impacts their lives. So we're putting a lot of attention to that, specifically as we're growing and in the outreach that we're making throughout the community to schools, to businesses, so on and so forth. So you'll hear and see a lot of discussion surrounding that as we continue to grow as well.
Yeah. The thing that stood out to me that you just said was that immediate help for people, right? I mean, I also have had a couple friends who have committed suicide, and one of them being he had made a big mistake and then immediately drove somewhere and then ended his life. And there was very his reaction time was ultimately his death, right? And so being, a lot of times these resources that you hear about are like, "Oh, yeah, we'll get you in like, 2, 3 weeks, or we'll get you in like 4 weeks," or whatever, because the system could be saturated or the people on the other end just don't care, right? But what I love about those hotlines is, like, exposing a line that you can call and get that immediate de-escalation
Mhm.
and get you grounded right away, because people who have never dealt with that side of mental health, it's a compounding, cascading effect that happens extremely quick. And so I love the fact that you guys, try to meet the people where they're at and then immediately activate a system of some kind to get them connected with the people that can help them fast, not
Mhm.
just 2, 3, 4,
Right.
weeks out. So that's really good that you.
And the platform that you have like this, and as we continue to build more content, you reference something incredibly important, and that's uh, the diversion, the diversion or the deterrent for being able to be in that bad or altered state of mind, if you will, and not in the right space to where they know what's next.
Mhm.
So what it's interesting when I was initially building this out with the whole red flamingo, then I'm like, okay, well, what about like a tagline? Initially, it was what's next,
Sure.
and when you're at the bottom of the barrel and you're trying to navigate something, and you're navigating something, by the way, in one of those pillars of the wellness wheel.
Mhm.
Our life is comprised of that wellness wheel. And so when you break it down categorically and try to figure out like when you can do that, which is the goal that we're really trying to get to with
Mhm.
folks. Number one is we want them to be able to decipher to see, of these 8 pillars, how am I functioning and operating within each one? Like if you had to grade yourself, like where would you grade yourself, from a scale of 0 to 100?
Sure.
And I say all this to say that having the wherewithal, having the notion to be able to redirect and get that help and close the time gap
Mhm.
is critical. So to your point, having the resources like 988, is great. It is. But I can tell you firsthand, um, that for me, I was dealing with, so I'm on hormone replacement,
Mhm.
and I was dealing with an issue at one point where I had lost a prescription, and I think I had a week left on my meds. And when you're taking hormone replacement, um, you're basically, and there's various ways you can take that now,
Mhm.
but, whether you can get pellets or you can take a shot or whatever the case is. Well, I was taking a shot, okay? And so it was like I'd go week to week.
Mhm.
And so if I go week to week, by the next time, like I was, on when my week was up and I was ready for that next shot, like I would notice a difference, like physically,
Mhm.
mentally, emotionally.
Yeah.
I mean, it's that dire of an impact. Well, I had lost my prescription,
Yep.
so I called the doctor. I said, "Hey," I said, I need to be able to, get in to see you guys. I lost the prescription, like I'm coming up, like I need a hand."
Mhm.
They're like, "Oh, we can't get you in. We can get you in 2 months." I'm like, it's not really gonna work. Like I know how I mean, I knew how I was gonna be feeling,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And so and here's why this is so interesting to me, because and I say this like I knew how I would be feeling. Like I knew the repercussions of it. And why I'm saying that that's so critical is so many people, they don't know that they're even at that point and stage in their
Yeah.
lives, right?
Recognition.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So now just fast forward, and so, I couldn't get into the doctors, and so I tried to ride the wave. So to your point, like when you need help,
Mhm.
right? So I tried to ride the wave, and like I knew, like riding the wave, like I mean, I can ride a week, I could ride maybe 2 weeks. I mean, but I noticed significant difference. I mean,
Yeah.
like depression, like deep, deep, deep depression.
Right.
And so I reached a very, very, very low point in there. Had some very, very, very bad thoughts that absolutely scared the daylights out of me,
Mhm.
and I hit proverbial rock bottom,
Sure.
during that process, and I guess where it became so impactful for me. So, and I lost it. I mean, I called the doctors and I said, "Yeah, I'm coming up there and I'm getting a prescription. You're either going to get me in or I'm getting a prescription. Like you're going to have it filled." I said some few choice curse words that they were not happy to
Yeah.
hear. They're like, "You can't talk to me like that." I said, "Well, you guys are my provider. You're going to figure it out.
Yeah,
They're going to
right.
have a whole different set of problems."
Yeah.
And so I bowled my way into being able to get what I needed to get. And I say that because it's such an important message to hear is that I was aware and
Yeah.
I knew what I needed. And I'll be damned if I wasn't going to get it.
Right.
And so, and if I didn't get it, again, it would have been a different situation. So you wonder why when people fall off the ledge or they have a mental break or whatever
Yeah.
the case is, again, I was not well. And I had some very deep, dark thoughts
Mhm.
that could have turned out in a bad situation.
Yeah.
And again, luckily they didn't. So that being said, is your remark about being able to connect dots for people is huge. And so for our foundation, so what we're doing specifically, we're focused on three pillars. And those three pillars, number one, it is absolutely awareness.
Mhm.
The more we can get the message in front of people about the wellness wheel, can have these kids per se, like just understand these different components.
Yeah.
Like we just got to bridge the gap to where people can figure out that they need to know they need to not know what's next, like I was
Yeah.
telling you about, right?
Mhm.
Now my tagline is redefine next.
Yeah.
I need them, we need them to be able to see, like, I'm not well in this pillar. Okay, I can redefine that
Mhm.
and figure out here's what I need to do to optimize it. It's just it's having the answer to the test,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And so, you couldn't be more spot on with that, and so with and I'm very sorry for your loss, that
Yeah.
you
Well,
said as well, but that's the kind of thing,
mhm.
right? It's like, so, in those instances or issues, and I refer to them as the 15% in life because, most of I've got this rule I live by, I call it my 85-15, like 85% of the time, that's pretty much the norm. You
Yeah.
know what it's gonna be.
Mm.
You're traveling to and from.
Predictable.
It's predictable, it's your
Yeah.
routine, but it's a 15% that derails people, whether it's a death, whether it's a divorce, whether it's a job loss. I mean, relationship type I mean, it could go on and on and on.
Mhm.
And again, health issues,
Yeah.
right? Like, I mean, I was in the 15% and if I didn't handle it the way that I needed to handle it.
Yeah.
So again, I could just, so having people understand what that 15% looks like in each of the pillars, is the way forward for
Right.
people to redefine and know. Like, had your buddy known, all right, I made a bad choice, but here's how we're gonna handle that.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And so, yeah.
Sometimes you just need to be reminded too that that 15% is not going to last forever. In 2 months from now, is that bad choice going to still haunt you? Maybe, but are you still going to feel the same way that you feel today? No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be completely different. You're going to be outside of that 15% and
Mhm.
look back and learn some lessons and go through a hard season with it, but
Mhm.
overcome it. So getting
Yeah.
that awareness that you're in this tough moment, but it's not going to last
Right.
forever. That's
Yeah, and I mean, all the things about mental health that are out there, depression, anxiety, PTSD, suicidal thoughts, ideations, all that stuff, really, like, they've done countless studies on brains of people that are in these types of situations or conditions, and it could quite literally be diagnosed as an actual medical problem, right? Like, there's chemical imbalances, like you said, that are happening inside your brain, and you don't even realize that you're messed up until it's almost too late. And then that's when the cries need to come out. But people stem and show signs in totally different ways. But I really love the fact that you guys are focusing on one, the awareness and the education side of it. Because a lot of people can just flippantly say, like, I struggle with depression or anxiety. Like, well, you may, and that's valid. But we also need to look at like what's going on and educate them so that they can make a decision on what that next step is.
Mhm.
And I love that phrase, redefine next.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, both of you have alluded to different things that just like, we got to remember that we're here for a period of time,
Yeah,
right?
right.
And I mean, and I have a faith. I believe in God, and I believe that I have a purpose for that, and I believe that I had to go through hell essentially. With all the things that I feel like that I've dealt with
Sure.
for to be able to get me to where I am today, and that's what I feel was needed to be. I couldn't sit in front of you had I have not gone through or dealt with all of the things,
Yeah.
so when you say, helping people through that 15% and it's real. I mean, I don't know who we think we are, where all of a sudden, like, we're supposed to be comfortable, with everything that goes on in our lives all the time, or to think that we're not gonna have to navigate. I mean, when was anybody born, and they came out, how old are you?
29.
When was anybody born that came out, with a beard and facial hair, with tattoos, and they're walking and running runs? Like, it
Yeah.
doesn't happen.
No.
Like, there's this progression through life for you to be built, the way you're supposed to be built to fulfill your mission that you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And that's relative. And it's necessary specifically for kids to have to understand. Again, I mean, so part of this is just perspective that we got, and the more we understand that about ourselves, the better off we're going to be. And to your point, um, as you mentioned, the you know, it's almost like we don't know. So many people don't know who they are.
Right.
And I've started talking about this and really diving into this with things like, I'll say personality tests.
Sure.
From personality tests to communication styles to, there's various assessments.
Mhm.
But when people understand who they are in those areas, when people understand, and I talk about this all the time too, again, but like the blood type diet,
Mhm.
like, and that works for me.
Sure.
But when you're understanding the makeup of what of who you are, how you communicate, what your styles and tendencies and things are, it sounds overly complicated, but it's really not.
Mm.
And when you can reverse engineer that,
Yeah.
which is some of the stuff that we're actually looking at and we're doing, to help people as well, it's going to give them the skill sets to then be able to navigate the issues, because it's not just about taking the medications
Right.
or treating the symptoms. You're talking about it where it's getting to the root
Mhm.
of the problem. Like,
Yep.
I don't want to just go. I'm like, I got this thing with my neck going on right now. I'm like, I don't want to just go to the chiropractor and just continues to get my neck, adjusted.
Yeah.
Like, what is the problem? What's
Right.
happening?
Mhm.
Um, so, and that's where we need to get to. And the conversations that we're trying to have, especially with the awareness side of things, is I, you know, I, I don't care. I mean, it's hard for me to initially sit here and say, like, I was at the bottom of the barrel and, almost making a really bad choice.
Sure.
It's hard for me to say that. I mean, I've got kids, I've got a business, I've got career. To a degree, it's hard for me to say that.
Mhm.
But on the flip side, I could care less, because
Yeah.
I know, like, at least one out of every four people, it's statistically, are having those thoughts or
Mhm.
have been there.
Right.
So if I can say that aloud and communicate, here's what I was able to do and reverse engineer. Yeah, it took me 11 years. Boom, I'm trying to take 11 years, bottle it up into as fast of a decision that we can make, so that, to your point earlier
Mhm.
with your buddy, like, if we could take that 11 years and be like, boom, here's the answer.
Right.
Like, just do that.
Right.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, it takes this glimpse of where he or she has no hope. Now they have hope. Now they understand themselves.
Yeah.
So I mean, we are up to I feel like some significant work. I don't think it's rocket science. I really don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I've thought about this a lot, because we're looking at getting into businesses. We're looking at going into some schools. We're looking to deliver this information in a way where, or I keep going back and forth. Like, all right, there's no question about it, going to be way smarter people in the room,
Right.
than me,
Right.
for example.
Yeah.
But I'm like, why is this such a problem? Why isn't it that, like, if someone was going to sit there and judge me or judge the content, like, why is everybody having such a problem though? Is it the foods we're eating?
Yeah.
Is it the fact that everybody's, like, too damn stressed?
Right.
Or is it they don't understand what their personality type is? So I guess I'm kind of sort of, really looking to challenge the, the status quo or challenge the stigma,
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah.
with with the foundation. So
You said that, you want to bottle it all up and give them the solution. Uh, there's a different solution to everybody's problem, of course, but you guys have this wheel of things that you can work on. And I think that 99% of people's solutions are somewhere within that wheel.
yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about what's on that wheel?
Yeah. So the wellness wheel is what we refer to it as, and if you were to Google it and look it up, you'll see there's various wellness wheels where they look at they could have 4, 5, 6 different pillars. We have 8 that we're looking at. So things that like spiritual. So one pillar would be spiritual, one would be physical, another would be intellectual, emotional, social, financial, occupational, and environmental. So within each one of those pillars, when you break down what is actually going on within each of the pillars, it covers our whole lives.
Yeah.
So, so looking at it socially, for example. So this is a perfect example of what I mean by, you know, 1 plus 1 actually equaling 2, not 1 plus 1 equaling 7.
Right.
Right. Like this is logical stuff here. And this is what I mean by how simple it is sometimes. It's just not easy because we're navigating life. We're navigating stress. We're juggling schedules. I mean, here's where I'm going with this. So here's a perfect example. So when I go through and I do the Myers-Briggs test, for example, and it's pretty neat because there's a free app on, if you have an iPhone, you can download. It's called Personality Types. So you go through, you take the assessment, you answer the questions in a way like you don't overthink it. You just go ahead and answer. Boom, boom, boom. Right, you fly through it. Then and it's going to give you your results. And so for me, what's interesting is not is my personality type is legitimate. It's actually the debater. So I'm like born to be a pain in the ass, I think. But it's the debater, and then I'm 88% extrovert. I'm 88% thinking, 55% perceiving, and then something else, 55%, something else, whatever. And so now you're like, all right, well, what are you talking about? Who cares? But here's where I'm going with this. And so when you think about the wellness wheel, right? And you look at that, and I told you like one of the pillars is social. So I'm 88% extrovert.
Yeah.
Okay. So like I love and now again this gets more granular. I can go off on a tangent here, but I'll try to stay focused. But it's so I'm 88% extrovert. So like and I love chaos. Like for some strange reason, like I did another assessment, and the psychologist was like, "Well, how well do you think you perform under pressure?" And I'm like, I'm like, and I start thinking back of like to high school. I start thinking back to grade school, middle school. I start thinking back to when I was a basketball guy and I choked like our last game of the season. And like I'm having these like PTSD moments of the fact like I couldn't read when I was a kid. I struggle with dyslexia. I have dyslexia, learning disabilities, and so like I would do anything I could to not like read. And so like for the longest time, like I couldn't read,
Mhm.
and so I'm like getting all this PTSD that's coming through regarding this stuff. Um, and so, but the psychologist, like, she starts laughing. She's like, she goes, you might think those things from your childhood come up, but it's like a drug for you. She's like, you have to have chaos. She's like, "You thrive in chaos." She goes, "You have to understand it." And like, and it like was this major aha moment for me. It really was. And again, this goes back to understanding more about yourselves and because and how this bleeds into every category of your life. Again, I know I'm getting way off on a tangent here,
No, you're good.
but I have a point to it. When she says you thrive in chaos, like that speaks to me about the work I'm doing. That speaks to me about like the position I'm in my job. That speaks to me about like how well you can handle a lot of things that take place. Doesn't mean you don't have stressors and these other things, but it's telling me who I am as an individual, right? So going back to the um wellness wheel, your question about the social pillar
Mhm.
in my own example of the Myers-Briggs
Mhm.
being 88% extrovert, So I'm going through these phases of my life where I've been in these phases where, again, I was smiling on the outside, dying on the inside. I didn't want to deal with anything being social.
But you needed it.
But yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. Like, that's how I'm built for that. Like, that's how I'm chemically and physically and intellectually made up.
Yeah.
And again, I know that there's a long-winded statement
No.
to put that clarity to it. So you think about that. So for me, like, if I don't want to be social, if you guys are my best friends, what's that say?
Mm.
You know what I mean? So is the sign there or something going on? Like, same thing with, the other pillar for physical. And like, so I have to have exercise.
Yeah.
Like I I have to have it. I feel so much better. But I'll put, for anxiety or work or all this other stuff with kids, and like I'll put other things before me, and I'll put myself on the back burner. And so you go a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks without doing something, and then all of a sudden, and then you're less social. You see I'm going with it?
Well, once the pillar crumbles,
Yeah. So now,
compensate in other areas.
right.
Yeah.
And you're in these pillars. So why we're so, and that's why I love the question you asked, because what we're working on is an ability for people to be able to look at each pillar within your life. And,
Yeah.
and it's not for anybody else to gauge.
Right.
It's not for me to decide. It's for you to decide.
Right.
And if you can look at your pillar and say, all right, hey, I'm operating in the physical space. Like, okay, if you were able to grade yourself daily, just think about that. You're like, okay, well, I didn't get a workout in today. All right, well, grade myself a 0.
Yeah.
Or I didn't get any steps in, I didn't get any walking.
Yeah.
When you can go down through that and look at that. So that's where I'm coming from with it. Again, I know I can go down this rabbit hole
no.
all day, but
Yeah.
this is where the gold is.
Right.
Like, that's why it's so granular to understand what's your personality type. What is your communication style? How do you, what are your what are your strengths?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it's okay to work on your weaknesses. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But you know, you're 5 foot what? 10? I mean, so you are not
He wishes.
you are not gonna be put, as a center in an NBA team. Like, that's just not, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you're gonna play to your strengths, and that's what and again, like, if we don't know those, how are you gonna play the game? Like,
Right.
you're gonna play that in a basketball game, or you're gonna do whatever you're doing in a run or a workout or a lift, you're gonna play to your strengths, right?
Yeah.
So the game of life it's the same thing. So what I'm trying to do, or what we're trying to do here, so much so, is really empower people, that we're taking some really kind of simple stuff, but making it, we're putting it in their face and challenging. Like, if you're not healthy, get healthy.
Yeah.
I mean, look at your diet. I mean, anyhow.
With that wheel, one thing that you said that kind of sparked a thought was the concept of excellence versus perfection. So, like, we know that, like, you can't be perfect at everything. So apply that to the wheel. You can't be perfect at every single thing in that wheel, but you can strive for excellence, right? And I like tying a couple of the things that you've said, like, what is the problem? I think personally that everybody thinks that they have to be perfect. I think that everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people feel like I have to be perfect at everything. And they're comparing themselves based off social media. They're seeing this filtered lifestyle. Life is messy, life is busy, life is hectic, and life is stressful, period. But taking that wheel and applying that concept of excellence versus perfection, if you're crumbling in physical, like you're out of shape, whatever, but you have a great family life, you've got a great job, you've got a great attitude, all that kind of stuff, like, you have a great thing going for you. That's awesome. Now we just have to work on one area of your life. Now you're looking at this wheel and you're like, okay, I have a broken marriage. I'm fat and out of shape. I'm super sick physically, super sick mentally. I'm losing my job, all the different, I don't have any friends, all that kind of stuff. I would say and look at somebody like, dude, you have a whole world of opportunity now. Like, I would almost be excited to talk to the person that has a very small wheel that
Mhm.
is struggling with all these things. Because it's like, well, okay, well, what part of the wheel can we build up first?
Mhm.
And like,
making those, we've said it before on the podcast before about making those micro wins every single day to enhance that part of the wheel. And then eventually, like a bumpy wheel will still turn. Is it going to be obnoxious? Yeah. Is it going to, make the cart rattle and like put cracks in other areas?
Yeah.
Sure. But the bumpy wheel is still going to turn. So even if you're crumbling or failing in an area, give yourself some grace because
Mhm.
perfection, a perfectly round wheel, is so hard to actually make.
Yeah.
And so I love not only the concept of the wheel, but also the illustration of the wheel.
Mhm.
And the thought that came to mind is like a bumpy wheel will still turn,
Yeah.
but obviously the optimal wheel will spin perfect and perfect trueness.
Balance.
So and balanced.
Well, I don't think you're gonna, and that's why I try to break things down. My kids would like bust my chops right now if they were here totally too, I'm an analogy guy. I mean, I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed or the brightest bulb out there. And so for me, it's like, how do I make it make sense to me? And
Mhm.
and that's really to me also too what you're saying.
Yeah.
And that's why again I could go back and forth with this because it's really I refer to an ice sculpture.
Yeah.
So think about it like an ice sculpture.
Mhm.
Everybody's a different ice sculpture. And you're constantly chipping away at it. And you also got to understand too, like, what's it doing? It's
Right.
melting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's
It's dying.
forming or deforming or dying or yeah, everyone.
Yeah.
That sounds morbid, right? But that's the reality of it. Yeah, it's a slow drip, right? Like we're slowly bleeding out. But that's the concept is that if you're chipping away at the ice sculpture, your ice sculpture is going to be different than mine. And I refer to this a lot too, like almost like a Rubik's cube. Like it's constantly changing and constantly turning.
Mhm.
It really is. And so when you keep those analogies in mind, in addition to the 85-15, like listen, like if you can go into each of the pillars, like let's reverse engineer it even more. Let's say you know your personality type. Let's say you know your strengths. Let's say you know your communication styles. What else is there? There's like a disc test or something else,
Yeah.
like your
Just an
person.
assessment.
Like so. Let's say you first, like number one. Let's say you know all that.
Mhm.
That now it's like now when you refer to that person like you did a little while ago, that's going through the divorce or losing a job or they're unhealthy, like all these things. Like my question to that would be is, do you even know who you are?
Right.
It, and it sounds simple, but again, so many people don't. They're bobbing and weaving through life. No, see another analogy. How about the light switch? Now, if you're an electrician, great, you're gonna know the answers to this. Otherwise, I mean, I don't, and I don't care. Like, alls I know is like I want to go over. Like, if we need light here to be able to see each other, we're gonna go flip the switch and it's gonna turn on, right?
Right.
And the issue is in real life, there's no light switch. There's not like, oh, dude, like, hey, Nick, you're gonna hit 29, and then all of a sudden, all hell's gonna break loose, and
Right.
your hormones are gonna drop through the floor. Like that goes back to what you started talking about originally. Nobody has that.
Mhm.
And so,
Right.
like, all of a sudden, it's like, nobody tells you, "Oh, boom, there's gonna be a tragedy," and you're gonna lose your leg, or you're gonna lose your brother, or you're gonna, here's the issue.
Mhm.
It's like, "Here, take that,"
Right.
and that's what we're talking about. So, the more people can know themselves, then to me, that gives the foundation. You have to have a foundation to be able to build from.
Right.
And that can't be overlooked.
Mhm.
And so many times I feel like it is because it's like it's that person not knowing how to navigate it. So we got to dissect that. You got to be able to look at it and say, all right, like, have I had any wins?
Mhm.
And to your point, these
Yeah.
micro wins, I guarantee you have. Like,
Yeah.
you may not have reached a certain goal, but you may not have got your time in the race,
Right.
but you finished the race.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I in another way or different perspective of looking at the wellness wheel. Because if you can, it could be bumpy or yeah, it could be, deformed, if you will. But if you can look at it through the lens of the 85-15 perspective, think of it this way. You just don't want the 15% to turn into the 85.
Yeah.
And now you said this earlier, which I thought which was beautiful, which was the timing. Like, nobody says whether or not, like, it's gonna be done in a little bit. I
Yeah.
mean, like, you go through I mean, it one of the most challenging times in my life was my divorce. And while I was going through the divorce, which took 2 years, 2.5 years. My brother dies by suicide within the first like 6 months of that. I mean, it was I drank for 3 years straight. 3 years straight, and I drank about a half a bottle of Jack every day, and I was functioning the same kind. I mean, it was and like, what? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And again, I look back at that now, and I was however long ago that was, but the timing of that, and that's what I'm saying. Like the timing of that, and like that was a I was a mess for 3 years, easy. And so where I'm going with that statement is the 85-15, right? So I'm like, okay, well, like now, I mean, I'm golden. And I've had to go through things in life, and like a lot of people do. But like, I say I'm golden now. I feel like I can handle damn near anything. I say that. I knock on wood. I do not. God, please do not strike me down with all the like. But I'm serious though. Like I feel as best equipped now as I ever have been.
Yeah.
And if something happens to me, which it will, because I know it's coming, like through something, because that's just the way life works, right? Something's coming sometime, and I'm gonna go back to the wellness wheel.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna look at that, and I'm gonna try to break that damn thing down so that if I go into the 15%, I'm gonna do my best
Yeah.
to get the hell out of it and get back into the 85%
Yeah.
as best as I can. And that's my point here.
Yeah. Right.
That circles back to everything you were saying about the guy or gal, or whatever that sits in the bad space. Like, are you doing the things that you could be doing to fix it or change it?
Yeah. That's
Everything you said keeps making me think like one of the biggest parts of that wellness wheel is knowing yourself, but you can't do it all by yourself. Like you said, you talked with the psychologist and she pointed out to you a personality trait that you needed to hear. And how you said, if you're failing in a couple of these areas, your friends, your best friends around you should be able to see that maybe before you do. You need those people in your corner to call you out, to lift you up, and to help you get through these hard times. I think that's another thing that Red Flamingo and us at Suffer Up are trying to do is create a good community space and get people around each other who have
Mhm.
like-minded ideas and really want the best for each other. It's not about, oh, I can run faster than you or I can be a better business owner than you or something. Like we all want to build each other up
Yeah.
and level up together.
Yep.
And I think that is so important in this wellness wheel, just recognizing that it's a community thing, it's a team effort.
The Bible specifically says through the trying and testing of your faith work with patience, and that all of this takes the one thing that we all wish we had more of, and that's time.
Mm.
And we all wish we had more time, and then time comes, and then it goes. And then when it's gone, it's gone. But constantly looking forward to Ryan's point and like bringing a lot of these concepts kind of all to a head of being able to identify the issue and make it more clear for the individual to then move forward for that next right best step, but to redefine next.
And I mean, you don't, and I love you for saying what you just said, by the way, because all of this falls to the wayside. It really does.
Yeah.
I mean, as passionate as that I am about this, because and I am, obviously you can hear, like I have those are the answers.
Yeah.
Those are the answers.
Mm-hmm.
But what you just said, Nate, regarding pulling it all together, is it goes back to, and I have to reemphasize this. It goes back to the Rubik's cube and the ice sculpture. You can get to the result differently. Like, as you're saying, redefining next,
Yeah.
you know, let's say that there are 25 areas in order for everybody to optimize. Let's just say there's 25 boxes that have to be checked.
Sure.
Let's say I'm all jacked up and I need help. I need 15 boxes to be checked.
Mhm.
Okay. And let's say you're golden and all you need is 2. Bro, great. Good for you. Right? That's awesome. And it is. But this is again the reality is that so I'm jacked up. So for me, here's what I'm doing. I'm journaling in the morning.
Mhm.
I'm writing like gratitude. I'm writing affirmations. I'm writing what I call progressive thoughts. I'm actually writing what I want
Mhm.
because because again, like my personality type is, and I'm diagnosed ADD. I'm dyslexic. You know what I mean? Like I need to focus,
Yeah.
like all the, so for me, in order to stay on task and do all the things. So again, I'm reading the Bible with a group. Like,
Mhm.
I'm doing these things intentional. I'm making these intentional efforts. I have to get 8 hours of sleep. Like, I know, like, I'm optimal if I have 8 hours of sleep. I follow a blood type diet.
Mhm.
Like, I know that 85% of the time when I follow this diet, I feel great. I backed things out. I backed out weed. I backed out dairy. I used to drink. I told you I used to drink like a fish. I barely even drink now. I run. I hate to run. Absolutely hate it. So I do
Absolutely hate it. We'll talk about running in a minute.
absolutely despise it.
Yeah.
I hate it. I absolutely hate it.
Wait.
No.
Well, a few years ago, I herniated my L4 and L5. Was told I needed surgery. Didn't get the surgery. Started taking things like turmeric, ginger root, and CBD, which helped with inflammation. So how I can run a 360 miles and not, and now I can't even go out and play basketball anymore, which is a thing I love to do. But and so I'm saying all of that to say, like, I'm a mess.
Yeah.
I'm a mess worse than probably most. But that's my Rubik's cube.
Mhm.
That's my ice sculpture.
Yeah.
And so for me, bam, back to your point, Ryan, the community.
Mhm.
I like again, like I've got certain people that know me inside and out. I've got people that I can reach out to that are like, all right, dude, where you been? Like, what are you doing? Like, why are you not social? Like, what's going on? Like, are you good? What's going on with work? What's going on here? Like, you got a full load. Like, I just keep stacking. Like,
Yeah,
I
right.
just keep stacking as much as I can because that's part of who I am too. And there's a lot going on with the foundation, but it gets overwhelming.
Yeah.
So now I know if something's going on, if I have too much going on at work or whatever, I do not care. Like I will be like, I'm checking out. Like I gotta have balance in that. And I need my friends, I need my community. I need to be able to take a step away, and I'm committed to that. So what you're saying is incredibly profound. Both of you just kind of ended your statements with stuff that's incredibly profound. There's people I've talked to several people that have lost a sibling to suicide as well, and they c- in the in the and they cannot comprehend. They can't even comprehend the thought.
Yeah.
Like they don't even it's like that's why I envision like going to talk to say you go to talk to a group of 1,000 people at a company, like that's a really successful company. I envision this like talking to these people and all these successful people, let's say, strong, like smart mind, like really intelligent people, high like SAT, ACT, and you go talk to them about this. Like it always makes me wonder, like how many of those people in there, like they can't even comprehend a negative thought like that or depression or something like that.
Yeah.
Like it makes me wonder. So I'm saying that to say that the community around you, like again, you never know. Well, my brother was a super high achiever. He was over a few hundred people at his work. I mean, he raised up through the ranks at a younger age, and you'd be like, and he cast such a large shadow. Like there wasn't even space in there for me like, to be. So when he passed, it was like it was like this opening for me to flourish and evolve. I mean, that's how I've chosen to look at it.
Yeah.
But the community, that matters. Like, you don't know who's struggling with those demons. You don't know that, like, because 'cause you're perceiving the executive at work as though they're this major leader, yet, they're going home and they can't get out of bed.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
that's my point to saying, like, you've got 2 things that you need to check off a box on your wellness wheel, and somebody else, they look like they're doing great, and they're a mess. They got 15. You know what I'm saying?
I love that illustration of one person having two boxes to still check and the other 15, because as a friend or somebody who cares in your community, you don't have to uncheck boxes to help somebody else check theirs. Matter of fact, if I help you start getting better at things and working towards checking some of those boxes off, and you start checking off 5, I'm not gonna lose 5 checks. I'm probably gonna gain another check because I'm also doing something positive with my life. I'm helping someone else, and that feels good. That makes you a better person, and it's just gonna help both of you together.
Yeah.
So people that feel like it's some kind of competition, like, "Oh, I don't have time to help you because I gotta go work on me." No, work on each other, and it will work on you in the
Mm.
process.
There were two things to add to both of what you guys just said, and I'm going to challenge the listeners of this episode with something. You said it early on about it was hard for me to say that I was at rock bottom, like out loud.
Mm.
And then you were saying, like you're helping other people, Ryan, and how that helps you feel better.
Yeah.
And then you also mentioned journaling. there's a ton, and we've said it before on here, but I'm going to say it again. If you're listening to this and you're like, I don't really know what to do and I don't know how to achieve this wellness or this wellness wheel concept, first of all, go over to Red Flamingo's website. It's on the front page right there and look at it and reflect on it. But the biggest thing is to record yourself, say it out loud or write it down. If you read David Goggins' book, have you read his book by chance?
Yeah, both of them.
Both of them, yeah.
Yeah.
He says in there that when he would have a thought of doubt or a thought of like, I don't think I can do this. He uses some colorful verbiage, but he would record himself and then he would play it back and let himself listen to himself because your words have meaning and purpose.
Yeah, that's right.
And so then when you say something out loud, you now just made the thought in your brain real.
Right.
And so by speaking, you can think all these things about yourself. Like right now, I'm actually getting coached every week by a guy through software consulting. And what the first thing he asked me is like, what would today's session make a win for you today? And then the other question is, what was one win that you had this week? And then I say it out loud and I take a second, I reflect on my week. And that could have been a really bad week, but then I say all the wins. That's how he starts. And then he's like, all right, so what would make today a success? And that's kind of my chance to bring up an area of weakness or something that I need to work on. But by voicing what's going on internally, you are now making it real, you're making it tangible, and it becomes easier to reflect on those things. And I think a lot of people can get stuck in the inner mental wheel,
Right.
the hamster wheel that just keeps turning and turning and turning, but that wheel doesn't go anywhere.
Right.
And so I just there's power in your words. And so if you're sitting here, I think one of the first and most important steps, one, to identify, but two, you're also identifying the issues by speaking them, writing them, or recording them
Mhm.
and playing them back to hear it. So it works for me, and I know it's worked for other people, but it was like it had been mentioned like 3 or 4 times. So I
Yeah.
just wanted to
Yeah.
bring emphasis.
Just to watch or listen to themselves say something negative. That that's
Yeah.
David Goggins says.
Mhm.
It's like your inner wimp.
Well, you don't, you know, what you there's energy,
Mm.
you know, and that's the thing. Like, there's one thing. It's one thing to think that you're gonna go, that you're gonna go run miles, or it's one thing to think that you're gonna go push the weight, in the gym. There's
Mhm.
one thing to think that. We all know there's another thing to actually do it. Well, when you're sitting and you're journaling, and now I hate the term journaling, by the way. Like it just sounds so ancient,
Yeah.
and it's fine. It's not that there's anything wrong with ancient, but it feels like not manly, like, to a degree,
man.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm trying to get through, like, it's like, I wanna get through to men too, because, like, so many times, because I feel like men mask a lot of they're smiling on the outside, but they're dying on the inside, you know what I mean? And I
Oh,
wanna
it's
get back,
blonde.
and I wanna get back to something that you said too about community to it, and I'm gonna challenge something about selfish. I wanna come back to that in just a second. But this notion of journaling too is I wanna touch on that again for a second, because like, when I journal, and I've actually started thinking about this recently too, like, I may start to log a little bit more of, like, timeline and, like, what's going on per se, because I think it might be neat to leave to my kids one day.
Yeah.
But but I went through some really rough times over the last, couple years, in something, and I was journaling more than I am now, and, it's impactful, whereby, like, I alluded to a minute ago, where I write gratitude. I
Mhm.
write I write, gratitude. I'll also write affirmations. Um, and I'll also write, progressive thoughts. It's like what if, and I'll write what ifs, because that's necessary for me. It's like somebody at some point, like Jeff Bezos, turned into whatever he turned into. Like he had to start somewhere,
Mhm.
right? So it's like, well, what if I do this? Like what if Red Flamingo is the most globally recognized um, brand?
Mhm.
Well, then we're helping is like the most amount of people, right?
Right.
I mean, if we're in people's face, what if the foundation is a globally recognized foundation that is helping people? Well, we're helping putting kids in college then, and then we're helping people with treatments, and we're closing that time gap with people. We had to start. So that what if statement, like, I wouldn't discredit that. And the same with wants. Do you really know what you want? And I'm going to pull this together in just a second. I'm going to go back to the selfish thing, like I said. But writing those things down, and like you said, speaking, like, you have to. And again, I know it's going to sound really elementary and simple, but when you think something, but then you actually have to write it on paper. It's funny because you mentioned Goggins because he did that, right? Yeah,
Yeah, right.
rewrite his work and stuff
Mhm.
like that. And I feel like that resonates with me too from a learning standpoint. But he has, but writing it down, you physically moving energy through your body
Mhm.
for that pen to move. And I know that sounds very simple to say. People are like, yeah, okay, we got it, move on. But no, you don't. Like if you're doing that and writing that every day, your mind doesn't know the difference at that point
Right.
because actively it actively took action.
Mhm.
That's the difference. Is it took action. And that's what people need to take from that. Is there's a difference between reading it and it sounding good and it feeling good and scrolling and doom scrolling and oh that sounds good to then okay, well, all right, well shit, like we gotta train for this run. Okay, well, if I don't go run the miles, it's gonna be a lot different, the day when we go to run. So taking action and that little bit of journaling, so to speak, or writing or note taking or however you want to refer to it, is incredibly powerful from that. So I've seen significant mental in spiritual improvement personally. So I don't know if you guys do it or how much you do it or not. And I phase in and out of it. I don't do it daily and I need to, but
I
I've
view
made
that
a lot of
as
power to it.
creating discipline through action.
Hmm.
It doesn't have to be a run. It can be as simple as writing something down,
That's
but you're
right.
doing that every day and you are training your brain to be disciplined in
Hmm.
some manner. And like you said, that energy is coming out
Hmm.
in a different form, but it's coming out.
Yeah. And again, you mentioned something too. I wanted to go back to community that is so important to me too. And this is something that I would challenge. I would challenge the listeners to, where when you think of the term. Let me ask you guys this: when you think of the word selfish, what comes to mind?
Selfish, like a synonym for selfishness.
What first thing that comes to mind about it?
A reflection, me, worried about yourself,
Yeah,
like not putting other people first. Yeah.
It has a negative connotation, doesn't it?
It
Yeah.
typically does.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It does. And I laugh at that
Yeah.
because I laugh at that and because do you need community? 100%. Like no question about it. But I'm going to go this is what I go back to. So I can't be all that I need to be and want to do and accomplish unless I am optimal.
Mhm.
And I really want you to think about that. And I really want the listeners to think about that. Like, am I telling you to neglect, you know, the things that you have to handle, the responsibility? Absolutely not.
Mhm.
But am I telling you that you should be incredibly selfish? Uh, 100%. I'm absolutely saying that.
Yeah.
Because the reality of it is there is so much noise that it's a distraction. The reason people fail is because they're distracted and they don't execute and take the action. The reason, and here's the example that I'll tell you is, so all of a sudden, right? So like this thing comes up. We launched the foundation the end of August of last year. Okay. And then I was talking to a buddy at the gym and he said, "Hey, did you hear about this guy, Tim Pereira, who's walking across, the country for suicide?" I'm like, "No." I'm like, "That's nuts." Like, I mean, what do you do? No, no, I didn't hear about it. But he's like, "Check it out." I'm like, "Okay." So I look at it and then it gets my mind moving and thinking. I was like, "Well, all right, well, we're gonna launch Red Flamingo, and it got me thinking about what's next. It got me thinking about what's next and how to redefine it. And we're going to launch this. Then what are we going to do? We're going to have this event, and then boom, what do we do? And how are we going to keep the music alive and keep things going? So it got me thinking. Where it's like, all right. So I had this idea of like, all right, well, I've got this 2 week window that I was originally thinking that I had, and so like, all right, well, what could I do? Like, how far is it across Florida? Let me see if I just did something stupid, right? So I started looking it up, and so I looked it up.
So good ideas.
All these great ideas, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Tim did that. Tim went across the country. Like,
Stupid
that's
idea.
stupid. Who would do that? It's too long, too far. So I looked it up and it was, I said, how far is it across Florida? I was Googling or whatever. I was like, hey, how far is it from Jacksonville, back to Florida, Pensacola? And it was 360 miles. And then all of a sudden, like, I'm like, oh no, like it's like spoke to me,
Yeah.
those 360 miles because I'm thinking about like my own situation of the battles and struggles and the mental, issue, like things that went on with health. And I'm thinking of this like full circle life change. Like I'm thinking of 360 degree full circle, right? And so then I'm like, man, like I started in my quiet time, started praying about it and whatnot. And like I got really real. I just tell people I got really real with God. I'm like, all right, bro. I'm like, you gotta take this off me, man. Like I don't wanna do this. Like I had this idea, and I sent it to a couple people. They're like, what's wrong with you? And I did it. And now I say all that to say that the focus and the selfishness and all that. This is so funny that it comes back to this because I was gonna do this run by myself. I was basically gonna go to the starting point. I was gonna log the miles, every the day, and I was gonna Uber back to my truck. Get my truck, drive it ahead, stay at a hotel, get up, like rinse and repeat, and do the next day and finish.
Yeah.
Do whatever I was gonna do. I was like, so stupid. I mean, just such a dumb idea. And multiple people and their friends that were like, "Oh yeah, okay, like yeah, dude, you gonna do that?" Yeah. So I'm like, "You sure you want to do this?" I'm like, "Yeah, why not? It sounds like a good idea. I'll throw the supplies in my truck and boom, boom, boom." Now again, I say all that to say, so like I had to get. It worked out being completely different, by the way. I had a pain in the friend who just wouldn't leave me alone. He's like, "Hey, I can work," and I love the guy. He's the best. His name's John, and so John's like, "Hey, I can help. I can work. I can work remote, and I can help you with this." And so we ended up curating a completely different plan, a completely different route. I ended up having support crew, like the whole nine, and it worked out. I had this community, yeah, around me, right? This community versus me wanting to do it individually. It took 13 days to do it, and again, I'm not a runner, man. I'm not a runner. Like I'm not a runner, and so to do all this and think I was going to go about it individually, selfishly, right? Going back to the term selfish,
Yeah.
and then I had this community of people that evolved to be able to help and support and make it through. It we were able to finish, but based on the recovery team, the support, like all of that, I was able to finish. But I go back to that selfishness that's so incredibly important because had I have not trained and did what I needed to do, like I drowned in I had support from my company. Like I had to go into the zone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I completely eliminated things that like I didn't I'll have a glass of wine here. I eliminated wine, like my diet. I mean, I've refocused. I got so tight in terms of my and selfishness that I had to block out. Like there was no way I was not finishing that run.
Mhm.
Run, walk, crawl. I don't care what you call it.
Right.
Like, I was gonna crawl the damn thing if I had to finish
Right.
because of the mission. So I say that to say that the selfishness that people, have to get to be able to find their best selves, if you will, like that's purpose, man.
Mhm.
Like that's what people need to find. And so to your point, society and people want to go around. The first things you guys thought of were negative. And I'm like, and I loved it. I knew where you're gonna go with it.
Well, because that's essentially yeah.
But that's my point.
Right.
That's bullshit.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
You can't
I get
pour
you,
from
right.
an empty glass.
You
and that's-
cannot.
Yeah.
And that's exactly my
Selfish.
point.
Yeah.
So how is it that we're expecting, how is it that you're going to expect to be the best you can be for your spouses, your wife, your kids, like your work, if you can't keep these foundational things in check that we're talking about on the wellness wheel?
Right.
Yeah.
So what? So you mean to tell me? I mean, let me tell So you mean to tell me? Like, again, I'm not married. I'm not married, but this is the best example that I can give because I'm gonna challenge the hell out of this. Is is are you the best version of you? Is your wife the best version of herself? Like, is your spouse the best version of themselves? Can they do you help elevate them or do you or is it a is it a relationship that has to be like you can't function with what's the best way for me to put this? It's basically you're two individual vehicles. Does that make sense? You're each an individual, and I know biblically like a marriage comes together as one. But my point is wouldn't it be best if in our society if 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 each person was so optimal and individually healthy and confident and understood themselves the best, wouldn't they be bringing more to the table from a relationship standpoint
Mhm.
if they can do and the things that make them happiest? It's like I can't tell you how many times it's like I've heard about it over the years. It's like, oh, wow, I can't go to the gym. You know, I got too much stuff with the kids. That's not me. I'm just other relationships and people I've seen. Like my buddies, like they stopped working out or they stopped doing this, they stopped doing that, and it's like that doesn't stop. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's my point here. It's like you don't get to go buy a brand new truck and then all of a sudden be like, ah, I'll figure out when I'm gonna gas it up or when I'm gonna change the oil. Well, it's a brand new truck. Like, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Everything I'm trying to come at with today is this challenging mindset of of it's okay to be selfish. It's not okay. It's necessity.
Yeah. Yeah, I would almost say too, like with the word selfishness, the saying is as old as, scripture, but if you can't lead yourself, you can't lead your house.
Mm.
And then the Bible even goes into more clarity, like expounding on what you're saying of you can't be basically like a deacon in a church if you can't lead your house and yourself well, right? And so it's the word selfishness, yeah, it carries a negative connotation of like, well, I'm going to be selfish in this area and I'm going to do this because this is what I want to do. Well, if you like take that and you look at it through a different lens and you're like, I'm going to do these things because these things are necessary for me to be optimal and to perform at my highest level so that I can now serve and help others and be that capable vessel to serve and help other people. And so I love how you like took the word selfishness and essentially redefined it.
Yeah.
We're gonna throw that in as many times as possible
Love that. Yeah.
because, but like the true word meaning of the word, it's not selfish if you're developing yourself. You're self-developing so that you can now give
Mm.
to other people. Now can serve other people. I now have the capacity because I'm fueled, I'm ready, I'm sharp to now serve. And that's what we're called to do. Like that's what we're supposed to do in this world, right?
Right.
So that's awesome. And like the community, everything tying together is awesome.
I think selfish gets a bad rap just because of the meaning behind it. You can be doing the same thing but have
Yeah.
different meaning behind it, and it matters differently. If you're
Viewed as selfish.
you're trying to get to the
Yeah.
top and not bring anybody up with you, then you're negatively selfish. But if you're trying to get to the top, you still got to be selfish, like you just talked about. But if you're trying to bring others along with you, then that guy that needed 15 boxes checked, you're pulling him up along the way and helping him too. But he's seeing you be quote unquote selfish to achieve what you're achieving,
Mhm.
but he gets to learn and come with you.
But we could also say too, you think self and then there's ish. Well, we say all the time,
Ish.
it's 74-ish miles or it's 10-ish miles.
We're gonna
So like we're just kind of
65-ish
ishy
miles.
self people, right?
Yeah.
So that's awesome, Red. But on the topic of running,
Uh-oh.
here we go. This is a podcast called Suffer Up, and we talk about running every time we're here. When we met you, we heard about your mission. We met for brunch and we heard about Red Flamingo, and we were like, that's awesome. That lines up. And we got hooked up through our friend Mark and everything. And he's also an endurance ultra runner, just finished the Southern States 200 and everything. And so we're like, you know what? We need to put something on the calendar for this summer. And so then we approached you and we're like, hey, we had talked about doing,
Well, and last year we had done
yeah,
a charity run,
charity
basically,
for
and that's
next growth.
something that we wanna do every year moving forward. So for this year, yeah, we thought, "Hey, let's partner up with Red Flamingo,
Hmm.
and let's do something cool."
And so we had like charted for just for fun to just run across the lower part of Alabama. Yeah, it's not 360 miles, but we're gonna do it in like one stint,
It's
65 miles,
65-ish.
65-ish, yeah, and change depending on if we get lost or not. But so we're like, hey, let's do this on Red Flamingo this year, and let's do it, with Nick and the three of us go run. So we challenge. We're like, hey, 65 miles across lower Alabama, taking a ferry. So there's actually more than 65 miles, but we are taking a ferry across Dolphin Island.
I'm
But
not
the
gonna make
running
you
part,
swim.
but the running, yeah, the running part is actually 65 miles, and we're calling it Run Red 26 to raise money for a foundation that cares about the mental health, the wellness wheel, and optimizing yourself and helping those people who are suffering and struggling right now. And if you're not struggling, maybe you could help, serve in an area with Red Flamingo. That would be awesome too. I'm sure we could partner up and hook up with people like that. So, listeners, we are running 65 miles across lower part of Alabama. We will be doing it starting at 1:30 in the morning. So, Nick here will not be getting his optimal 8 hours of sleep that day. So we're already starting at the 15%, right? Tying everything together. So, but we need your help because we can't do this alone. And we're looking for individuals, businesses, whoever wants to support a segment of this and support Red Flamingo. All the money and proceeds going directly to Red Flamingo. Suffer Up will see none of it. All we're doing is pounding the pavement in miles for 65 of them, all three of us together. And it's going to be an adventure and also a challenge because we're doing gas station stops and
This is going to be in June.
it's going to be in June.
June 2nd and 3rd.
Yep.
The night of the 2nd. They'll all be on the 3rd. Yeah, so it's going to get toasty in the daytime.
We are super excited about it. It's gonna be an epic adventure. We already got the route, aid station stops, all that stuff. I was actually thinking about it. We might want to squirrel away something in the state park. Maybe. Anyway, we might do some like drops with just like essential stuff that we might need. But you're looking at me.
Just let me know what is needed and like how this is gonna go down.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this the other day. I'm like, yeah, like we haven't talked yet about
Yeah.
some of these details. Like
Well, we got time, man. We got time. It's lace up and let's go.
thrive under pressure. I do. I supposedly I do. Yeah,
June
man.
1st, 2nd.
Figure it
Yeah.
out about then.
We'll make sure the gas stations are open so we can get
Oh,
ho-hos and
gosh.
cookies, man.
That ain't happening.
No?
No.
You have a donut on the run?
No.
No?
It's no strict.
Strict. All right. Well, we'll make sure you have what you
It's a
need
lot
for
of
sure.
miles.
Yeah. So, but anyway, we're doing this. We're excited about it. We obviously have some logistics on our end that we'll sort out, of course. But if you feel compelled to give to this foundation after hearing Red's story and the more why behind Red Flamingo, you can go to the link in the description of this podcast. And at the very top, it's nice and big. You'll see Red Flamingo's logo there. You can click to give. If you're giving on behalf of Red Run 26 and want to support this run, there's a drop down that says Red Run there. Just click it so that way it's categorized as that. But we also have an idea. Well, it's not an idea. We're putting it to action. We are going to be doing a virtual 5K. And so the details of that, we will be launching that the May 4th. And what we're going to do is you make a $20 donation to Red Flamingo under the Red Run, and you for the whole month of May all the way up until sorry, I don't want to mess it up, June 4th. You will run a 5K and then submit your time, Strava segment or Garmin, just prove that you ran the miles and the time. And then we will put you into a winner's category. So we'll have a first place winner where that person will win an entry to the Punch Out Ultra. And then we're going to do a randomized selection. So anybody that contributes is open to this randomize, and we're going to have a package for you with possibly a Red Flamingo shirt, stickers, and some other Suffer Up stuff. So we're really excited about it. We'll have those details for you in the description of this podcast as well. So be looking out for that. But that will be launching on May 4th for the virtual 5K for Red Run 26. So kind of get some momentum and get some more people out on their feet and get them moving. So,
And we talked a little bit or a lot in this episode about what Red Flamingo does, but just to reiterate, the money from this that Red Flamingo raises or that we help raise for Red Flamingo, that not only goes to getting people connected and like building their awareness, but actually getting support too, right?
That's correct. Yeah, so we've got our three pillars of focus. One is awareness, and then the second is supporting and funding various therapies.
Okay.
So we've helped several individuals come to us that have needed like specifically uh, hormone therapy as well as ketamine treatments.
mhm.
So ketamine treatments, it's that I actually have had a ketamine treatment, a couple of treatments several years back. I do believe that it helped. There's a great TED Talks that's out there that talks about the repurposing of drugs. There's a neuroscientist that goes into the talk about what ketamine does,
Mhm.
and it's proven scientifically to be able to help with PTSD, depression, things like that. So we've helped several individuals with ketamine treatments, and then the third pillar that I'm really excited about right now is and we're launching this soon is the scholarships. So we're going to be doing scholarships for students who've lost a parent and or guardian to suicide.
Wow.
So
That's awesome.
so excited about that, and it's not just so, this as this continues to grow and evolve, this is going to be just as far of a reach as we can get. So
Yeah.
it's not subject to, or limited to just Escambia, Santa Rosa County or Alabama type
Yeah.
thing. So, yeah. So as we continue to grow like that, that's what we're here for, man. So trying to close that gap. So,
Love it.
mhm,
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for getting on the podcast with us, man, and
yeah.
sharing your why, your mission, Red Flamingo, and just being real and the dialogue was great, dude. So really appreciate it.
Appreciate you
So
guys. Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah.
anything else, guys? We look forward to doing this run and getting some donations to fund these awesome things that you guys are doing.
Yeah.
That's it.
We're so grateful. Just want you to know, so grateful for the platform, grateful for the
Yeah.
voice, grateful for the supporters. We need more supporters. We need more people, following us right now. We're trying to get the Instagram stuff going and handle and all that. And again, it's been ground floor where we from when we've started just several months back, in the end of August, and just to see the life that this has taken on so far. I had somebody come up to me yesterday at an event that I'm friends with through Facebook and just didn't know them, and they're like just and she said, "Will you please keep going with what you're doing?"
That's awesome.
Yeah, and it was just like here's what I would leave people with this, and this has been on my heart here the last couple of days is and I said this to myself a while ago that there's gonna be points in time when this gets really tough,
Mhm.
and it gets like I said, I thrive in the chaos, right? I said that from the sense that it also energizes me.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of quiet time too,
Mhm.
right? There's a lot of times when you're kind of questioning the direction of what we're doing and how we're doing it, or how to maximize and get a return or get the gain, and how do we help more people? And where I'm going with that is I said to myself a long time ago that I was going to do this. I said, this is going to be the most challenging thing that I do in my life, because this is going to be, if it works like it's supposed to, it's going to be the most thankless job or mission that I'll ever be on. And I want you to think about that for a second. And it's not, and now, and yes, we're doing this to save, to help, like, stop suicide, and to help people, optimize their lives, and, and find a faith and do all the right things. Right.
Mhm.
But I want you to think about that for a second, that, like, when we do this run, this goes back to the people that are smiling at you on the outside,
Mhm.
but they're dying on the inside.
Yeah.
How many people are you gonna walk by today or this weekend, and you're thinking that they're golden? And so that's my message to everybody that's out there, that, if you don't, if you're like, if you want to see, there's so many people out there that are struggling that you don't know. And I'm never gonna hear from.
Yeah.
And so when I say to people, and I said this at another talk that I did, I said, those of you, like we've got the 85% of people that we're hopefully going to be able to see and we're going to have an impact to. There's going to be that 15% that we don't, that they're flying under the radar and they're in the shadows. Those are the people, like, I want you to know, I'm going to get closer to the mic right now. I want you to know, like, we're running for you. Like, we're coming. I'm coming for you. We're coming for you. Those are the people that we want to make the difference to. That where you think like you're not, like, you're good to go, or you can't be broken, or you're not going to be stopped. We're coming for you. So when they donate, or when they follow, or when they share the link, or where they wear a wristband, or where they wear a hat, or a shirt, that's what I'm talking about. Like, this is so much more than just, hey, we're gonna go run some miles and have some awareness, or you're donating $20, and you don't think that it makes a difference, or whatever the case is. I want you to understand, like, that's and so again, and I don't have to be long-winded with this
No.
stuff, man, but it's like, but this gonna be the most thankless Because if we're doing what we're supposed to be doing and we're actually making a difference and stopping, then this funnel of issues will get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
So does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Yep.
Yeah,
So
that's a really
you
good
know,
close.
so again, so thanks for you guys for the push and the and all the support and being crazy to
And we live on crazy.
yeah,
Let's go.
have us run. You guys are nuts.
Well, drive on something.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
ours is crazy. So we're excited about it, guys. Thank you again, Red. We really appreciate you, man,
Thanks for
and
having
getting on here with us and sharing all of that. So again, guys, please check the show notes below to follow Red Run 26, as well as our link tree and all the other events and stuff that we will be doing. But right now, our next mission and goal and focus is to crush these 65 miles. And for that silent person or that silent voice that's out there that is struggling, you are not alone. We are here. We hear you. We see you. We just need you to reach. Once you make that step, we can help you redefine next. Thank you guys for tuning in to the Suffer Up podcast. We will have an episode for you every single Monday, as always, like we have for the last year, and we'll continue doing it. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. We love y'all. And as always,
Suffer up.